You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the March 17th, 2025 regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Today's meeting begins with a public hearing of objections to Amendment Z22-09 to the zoning bylaw for the Algonquin Spa. Council will later move to approve terms and conditions under this amendment. Brian Ferguson will make a presentation to Council regarding the proposed parking lot across from Langmaid Park. Under Planning and Community Development, Councillors Harland and Heenan will move the Council enters into an encroachment agreement with Elderdale Ventures Incorporated for the Isle Residences development. Under Finance and Administration, Deputy Mayor Akaji will move the Council adopts the 5-year capital investment plan for the Canada Community Building Fund. Under Public Works and Public Safety, Councillors Bennett and Neal will move that Council grants leave for the second reading of Bylaw 25-01 regulating vehicular traffic. Finally, under Economic Development, Business and Culture, Councillors Hurdle and Weir will open a discussion on the future of the courthouse. Now let's join Council at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers in St. Andrews.
All right, welcome everybody. This is the public hearing of objections meetings for Amendment Z22-09 to the zoning bylaw, which is Z22-01 for the town of St. Andrews. Here we are on St. Patrick's Day, Monday, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Chambers. This meeting is being streamed through Zoom and Facebook. If you have any opposition to anything this evening or something in support for this particular hearing of objections, we will do a call through Zoom here momentarily. But at any time, you can also submit your feedback to council, although there is a motion coming up in the regular meeting. Let's get into the recording of attendance. I see that all members of council are here. Is Councillor Blanchard online or no? Okay, so everybody except Councillor Blanchard. Thank you, Councillor Hurdle, for joining us virtually. And I do want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Beskotomo Gadi people. Approval of the agenda. Could I have someone move? It is just the one item, the hearing of objections for this first meeting. I've got Councillor Gumashell and seconded by Councillor Heenan. Any discussion on the one item? Seeing none, all in favor of approving this agenda, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. Agenda has been approved. Any conflict of interest? Seeing none, there is no presentation, so let's just get right into the purpose of the meeting, which is the hearing of objections. Once again, it is amendment number Z22-09 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for the Algonquin Spa public hearing of objections, which is PCD 250206. Would anyone in the audience this evening wish to speak in regards to this particular hearing of objections? I'll call one more time. Would anyone in the audience this evening like to speak regarding this hearing of objections? Okay, I note that no one in the audience would like to speak. Is there anyone online?
Through your worship, there is online, but they're the representatives at the Algonquin, so
okay.
I doubt they'll have any further comment than what's been provided.
All right.
And I'll also note we've received no correspondence written, but I will toss it over to Mr. Alex Henderson as he has some information regarding the O'Brien House.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have some information about the O'Brien residence. This was brought to our attention just last week here. Our development officer was doing their preliminary plans review for the building permit application, and they noted that one of the apartments that was proposed has a mechanical room in it, and the bedroom is being added to the next door suite. So instead of 2 one-bedrooms, imagine a 2-bedroom and now a mechanical suite. So this changes the overall calculation that was in the draft resolution before you tonight. So instead of 20 units, that would actually be 19. So this hasn't been part of the public hearing notice, but it's staff's opinion that that is not representing a substantial change for a couple of reasons. Unlike the spa where you're changing the footprint from 2 stories to 1 story, and that substantially changes the overall gross floor area, and there's external changes to the design of the spa building, those are substantial changes which require this public hearing and review from the public. This is a sort of a change of the interior and the use of the space. It doesn't change the number of bedrooms in the overall development, so the amount of people that would be accommodated in the employee housing would be the same. So yeah, it's staff's opinion that you could proceed with tonight's resolution with a minor change to clause 14 on from where it says 20 units to add 19 units or up to 20 units as an additional way to amend that clause. In doing so, you would allow the project to continue as is and on schedule. You could also call for another public hearing to deal with this matter. But again, it is staff's opinion that you're within the meaning and intent of the act to proceed with that minor change if you so choose. We've had opinions on what's constitute a non-substantial change to a bylaw that's done at third reading after the public hearing, and this is well within the scope of what you can do. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henderson. I think unless council feels differently, I do think that that's well, I wouldn't consider it a substantial change by any means unless you're the developer themselves and the applicant is aware of the change, obviously, and still good to proceed with the project.
This was actually the applicant's engineer who proposed
Came
it.
back.
The original rezoning, the conceptuals, didn't actually have a mechanical room, and it was one of these things that was realized when they went set out to do the building permit plans, which are far more detailed than your rezoning conceptual drawings. So this is one of these things where it's like, oh shoot, we need to add a mechanical room in, and that required them to change some walls and ultimately change the total number.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Henderson. I'm not seeing anything from council. I think that's not a substantial change by any means. It'd be different if you're going from 20 to 30 units, for example. That'd be a substantial change. All right, Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship, I would just like to thank Mr. Henderson for bringing this forward to our attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, even though he's not wearing green. That's what happened to me all morning, so now you know how it feels. Moving on. So we've asked the public, and we've also did call online. All communication, which to the changes has been none, has been submitted to council previously. So council, with that being said, we will go to adjournment. Could I have a motion to adjourn at 6:38 p.m.? I've got Councillor Heenan, seconded by Councillor Neal. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. That hearing of objections has been adjourned. All right, thank you everyone for their patience. This is the regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. Once again, Monday, March 17th. It is 6:48 p.m. And if anyone has any questions this evening, you can submit them to pnopper@townofstanders.ca. But this meeting is also going to be aired through Zoom, and of course, the members of the audience are here. If I get into the recording of attendance, all members of council are here with the exception of Councillor Blanchard. And I do want to recognize once again that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Beskotomo people. Approval of the agenda. I'll be looking for a mover for this agenda. I've got Councillor Harland and Deputy Mayor Akaji. I gave Councillor Hurdle an extra second there, didn't I? All in favor of approving this agenda? Oh, you got a...
Your Worship?
Yep.
Could I propose a change to the agenda that under I-2, the Argyle residents, since that's potentially litigious, perhaps we should move that to closed session?
Is there, we can, and then we'd have to come out of closed to make a decision on it, though. Any decision we make can't be made in closed, but if there's something that you are worried about, obviously negotiations, legal, anything like that, then I would
Should
not.
go to closed. It's always been how we did things in the past, but.
Okay, so go to closed and then come out of it, and any discussion? Debate should be done, though, in public, is that not correct, just through the clerk? Yeah.
You are correct, Your Worship. Any debate and motion of council will have to be done in open session.
Okay. So with that, do you still want to go to closed? I would want to deny a closed session request, though, that's for sure. Just in case there's something that you feel you want to say and you think closed would be a better spot, I would...
I think it's prudent to go to closed session, but if staff doesn't think we should, then we can debate openly.
Over to the town clerk.
Your Worship, if councillors are feeling uncomfortable with debating at this current time in public, take it to closed.
Okay. You'd prefer that, Mr. Councilor Gubichel? Could I just have a seconder for that closed session item, just to... Yeah, so we've got two people, so we'll take that to closed. It's important to note that closed session is a standing item, so it's not a change to the agenda. We were planning to go anyway. Mr. Knopper at the end of the meeting will give us the reasons as per the Local Governance Act for us going. Okay, thank you. Any other changes to this particular agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. And that's everybody. The agenda has been approved. Any conflict of interest this evening? Seeing none, if anything arises, please let me know. So we're going to jump right into presentations. We have Mr. Brian Ferguson here is doing a presentation on the proposed parking lot across from Langmaid Park. We did receive communication from Mr. Ferguson, but he would like to exercise 10-minute presentation for council. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to take my jacket off. That's all right. It's very warm. And I wonder if it's possible to confirm if our neighbors are joining by Zoom. I know they said they were going to and they had signed up. I'd just like to.
I am
know
unknown
they're
for
here
who
and say
your
hello.
I am unknown for who your neighbors are, but I know that there are 3 people online, and I know 2 of the 3 are from the Algonquin. So I would assume one of them must be your neighbor.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
And just let me know when you want the page switched.
Okay. Great, thank you. Your Worship and member of council, thank you very, very much for giving us this opportunity. It's been a while since we first heard about the project and since we asked for this chance to speak to you, and we appreciate the fact that you've let us come and talk to you and share our thoughts. There are at least 5 and maybe 6 of us here in person and or by Zoom, and I would certainly leave things open for them to pitch in and help me out if there are any spots where they think that there's other things to be said, and hopefully they'll have a chance to add or make their own comments after we finish. Thanks, Paul. So this is the outline of what I'm going to talk about. First of all, I'll give you a quick word about us, let you have a sense of who we are and what our community does or is. Then I'm going to talk about disappearing green space, what we've called the slippery slope of zoning, because I think it's a critical issue as far as this particular project is concerned. I want to talk a bit about defining need, and then I want to close by just talking about our request to council and how we would kind of sum up the situation. Thanks, Paul. So who we are. Here's a kind of simplified version of the zoning plan. I've tried to bring together in one little diagram the zoning map for the area, as well as the proposed layout of the parking lot, and to tell you a little bit about the whole situation. First of all, I want to say that we're extremely fortunate to be able to look out on this trail every day. We all walk it almost daily, many of us, and it brings a lot of joy to us to see friends, see visitors, see people walking the trail in front of our homes every day, and to be able to go out and enjoy the trail ourselves. The area that's in pink that we've called the garden homes is the area where the 7 families that are here today live. We are, I'll give you the next 2 bullets there too, Paul. There's 7 homes. We all face onto the green zone. The complex was built about 30 years ago, roughly, and for all intents and purposes, this is the view that we see from our picture windows every day, the trail. One of the points that I want to make is that although I'm kind of speaking here as a representative or as part of the group, we all are individual property owners. So there isn't an overarching organization that owns any of the land, owns any of the property. Each of these townhomes is owned by us individually. We share the costs of maintenance, and we share the costs of a few of the capital improvements like a fence and our driveway and so on. But we all individually own our own property. So there are actually 7 properties in that green, in that pink box that face onto or abut the trail. This is just another view of our situation. It doesn't go all the way up. Paul, could you go back? Because one other point I wanted to make while we've got this drawing up. We think of the trailhead as being the place where that black line meets Water Street. And certainly it's a key access point for many of the people in town. But probably an equal number of people access the trail from Queen Street. So if you see the street that's parallel to water and where it meets the black line, many of the people in town find it more convenient to walk that way. If you ever walk the trail in the winter, I was surprised at just how well beaten the trail is coming in from the Queen Street side as it is from coming in through the gates at Water Street. So many of the residents who are in the community who walk their dogs access that way, and it is a little difficult, particularly in the wintertime, walking along Water Street to get to the trail with the oncoming traffic. So I think that's another reason that the Queen Street exit to the trail is as well used as it is. Thanks, Paul. This is just an overview. You've all seen this. This comes from the brochure or the flyer that was sent out by the town announcing the proposal. It gives you a little better idea from this aerial photograph of where exactly our homes are relative to the parking lot. If you can see that faint yellow line in front of the in front of the homes, that's actually the property line of our individual homes. So our homes just extend to where that yellow line is. The blue line is sewer and or water sewer for sure. I think water as well, heading over to the treatment plant. The part where where Paul's got the cursor right now there's a little bit of a drop off just about there, and it gets into a kind of a bit of a boggy area where the lighter green is, and then eventually comes over to the trail. Thanks, Paul. So green space, that's the first issue that I wanted to talk about. If you could hit the slide for me. And hit one more, please. There has not been a lot of data about gathered about the project in terms of community, what the community thinks, what their feelings are about the trail. But we did mine the Facebook page of the town where the announcement was made, because at the open house it was felt that the data that was posted there was giving a pretty strong support for the project. We all know that Facebook is what it is. It's a place to kind of gather community thoughts without a lot of. It's certainly not scientifically or organized from any kind of mathematically rigorous point of view. But what we did do was take the Facebook postings all the Facebook postings that we could find as of approximately a month ago, to just see what the feelings were. And there was a roughly 50-50 split from individuals who were posting in terms of people who either put in some kind of supportive comment or just a like, or somebody who put in a more fulsome or deep comment. Mm-hmm. The largest percentage of people are simply really just said that they didn't understand the need for the project and in the location proposed. Paul, if you can do one more. But the 20% of it. 20% of the negative respondents gave the reason that they were concerned about disappearing green space or some term like environmental issues or environmental concern. So the environmental concern was the second most commonly mentioned objection. The disappearing green space is clearly an issue for certainly for all of us. And if you look at the area from the trail over toward our homes and down, the parking lot as proposed, that we don't have exact dimensions. I don't think anybody does. We've just kind of got a bit of a conceptual plan at this point. But it will take about half of the green space from in that green area from the trail to our homes up to about Queen Street. And it could totally disappear if the parking lot is expanded. We've heard anecdotal comments about, well, if this is successful, we'll just double the size of the parking lot, and that could take away the significant portion of that green space. And I think just one of the comments that we wanted to make is that it will take a lot more to remove to remove green space, to build new green space than it will to remove it. So it's, I think, something we need to really consider. If you pave it today, it's going to be there for quite a while, or it's going to be quite costly to remove. And as it gets, particularly as it expands and takes up more space, it's a real concern for us. And there are any number of studies. I know that individual people who've sent you submissions have talked about this, but the impact of the green space on social well-being, on the community in general, and certainly on our age-friendly goals, is very significant. Personally, I just find the trail to be a huge comfort, to be able to look out every day and see people walking, see families enjoying the trail, visitors to the town trying to chase deer around the field. It just drives home to me every day just how important and critical this area is to the community. So, why are we here? Let's talk first of all about zoning. The area, as you know, the whole green area and the black area of the trail is zoned currently as green space, or a green zone. Okay, Paul? And I think it's important to kind of reflect on this definition of what the bylaws say about what permitted uses are in green space zones. I won't read the whole thing, but and certainly in terms of paragraph A, the permitted uses of a green space are natural scientific study, park, playground, trail, sports field, private golf course. Fortunately, it's too small to accommodate a golf course, so I don't think that's an issue for us. And then I think the part that affects the parking lot the most is part B, which is accessory building or structure or use incidental to the main use, if the main use of the land, if such use is permitted in this section. So trails permitted, and I think the argument of the town would be that the parking lot is an incidental use, therefore it's a permitted use. But is that really, we think there's a flaw. It's not necessarily a flaw in the reasoning, but I think if we look at the reasons which are listed under communication points that the town has given for building this parking lot, and we've enumerated them here. Number one is to provide additional overflow parking for the summer season in the downtown, provide parking for the Van Horn Trail, plus additional parking for Indian Point, provide additional parking for events and festivals in the community, such as Canada Day, provide parking for Langmaid Park, which is located adjacent to the the green area where the proposed parking lot is. So then we asked ourselves, do these uses fit the definition? Provide additional overflow parking? No, not related to the trail. It's an issue for the town clearly, but solving the downtown's parking problem through the use of a parking lot for the trail, we would argue is certainly not a permitted use. Provide parking for the trail, obviously, that's a key justification for it. Provide additional parking for events and festivals. Again, it's not directly connected to the trail, therefore we would argue that it's not a permitted use. Provide parking for Langmaid Park located adjacent, obviously that would be a permitted use.
1 minute, Mr. Ferguson. Your worship, we're past 10 minutes. Would you like to proceed? There's still another 9 slides.
Okay, just I appreciate the fact that you're here tonight and this is important to you, so maybe if we just keep it moving, just for the fact that we do have a lot of issues that will have probably lengthy debate this evening, but I don't want to cut you off because I know it's important to you.
I'll speed it up, thank you. So the conclusion is there must be a parking solution scaled to demand for the trail to meet the requirements of the green zone zoning. So what about a trailhead in Langmaid? This was a picture taken today. It's not, I've been trying for 2 weeks to get a day when there were 2 cars parked there to show you what a typical day in the summer would be. This is what we would normally see on a busy summer day in terms of parking at the trail. Rare to see more than 2 or 3 vehicles at any point in time. And certainly parking from Prince of Wales down to the trail on virtually any day in the summer except for an extremely busy day like Canada Day, parking is really not an issue for anybody who wants to use the trail. Okay, Paul? So I won't go into the details here, but even if allowed, we're not convinced it would be used as an alternative to downtown. The traffic studies that were done a few years ago by CBCL asked people if they'd walk as far as the high school, and 60% of them said no, they wouldn't walk that far to park. So I don't think that thinking of this as a solution for downtown is a starter. Would it be a solution for overflow? The CBCL study again identified about 1,000 external parking spaces extraneous to the downtown. There's one town lot that's used for parking already that's ready to go on the market. There's a 20-car parking space there. And we think for the 2 or 3 really busy days, we could find some creative alternative solutions. In fact, you can use the parking lot of our complex. We'd be happy to accommodate people on busy days. The other, we make a reference to Canada Day. This is the start of the Canada Day parade about 2 years ago. If you see the fire trucks in the background, that's approximately where the parking lot would be. So even if we had a parking lot there, Canada Day wouldn't be a day you'd want to be using it. Thanks, Paul. So although our own observations and anecdotal evidence support the conclusion, I think if you did any real research, if you surveyed the community, if you took the pulse of the community, I think you'd find that the project is much larger than required for the trail users. And it may at some point in time require removal, and then you're into kind of an slightly unused legacy for the town. So trying to solve the parking problem with this project for overflow is a non-starter as well. So just to close it off, we would ask the council for 2 things. One is respect the intent of the zoning requirements. We don't want to see the zoning kind of get to the point where it can be an arbitrary definition. This year it's accepted as okay. Next year the parking lot doubles. The zoning, I think, was there for a reason, and we think the intent of the zoning was fairly clear. And as well, once the decisions are made, we would like to have some certainty, some degree of certainty about green space. It would be nice to have a master plan for that whole area, the green space on both sides of the trail, Langmaid Park. How do we manage that and get good value and use from it? And I guess the final point I'd make is that if it turns out that more parking is something that's needed, we have another option. That's the one that I think you've all seen from Alan Fyander that was been endorsed by the Sortie Trail Committee. Use Queen Street. It needs to be resurfaced or finished or whatever the appropriate term is. It would certainly serve for the long-term parking for now, and because it's right at the head of the trail, if over time you find that there is a need to build more parking, we think that that's a much more appropriate place to put it than what's being proposed. So I'll leave it there. I thank you very much for all of your interest, for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. And if there are any questions for me or for any of our fellow residents, we'd appreciate the opportunity to answer them.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson. I do appreciate the presentation. Council, I'll open the floor. Is there any questions for Mr. Ferguson this evening? I'll go to the public there in a moment, then, if you don't mind. Just want to make sure council has an opportunity. Any questions, council? Mr. Gumashell, or Councillor Gumashell.
Thank you again. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the presentation. I was going to ask if you'd seen Alan Fiander's drawings, and obviously you have, so just wanted to thank him for putting significant time and effort into coming up with an alternate proposal that I think everybody can live with. So thank you, Alan, and thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
We thank him as well.
Any other member of council? Councillor Heaton.
Yes, thank you very much. You did mention somewhere in your presentation regarding the fact that you've heard that it could double in size. I'm just wondering where that came from.
I don't know. This is just things we hear on the street, and when we hear these kind of things, it starts to get us worried too, thinking, well, if there's anybody thinking this way, it would obviously be a much bigger concern for us. I have no source for that, and I hope I made that clear when I was talking, that it's just what we hear.
Okay, thank you.
Any other member of council? I've got a quick question. What would the residents like seeing with that green space? I did hear opposition to this, there's no question I did, but I also heard a number of residents say they weren't even aware that it was public green space, that they thought it was the back lawn of those townhouses, and people are actually start asking questions. Does the town maintain it? Like, why are they maintaining it if it's not being used? All these questions. So I know that there was a proposal for a dog park. Now there's a proposal for a parking lot. What would residents in the area like seeing done with that green space?
That's a very good question, Your Worship. Well, I don't know whether you realize this, but for probably 25 years, maybe more, we have looked after mowing half of that green space, although it's all owned by the town. And I don't know whether it's just been some kind of gentleman's agreement or something that's happened over time, but we kind of mow to the part where there's a drop off, and the town mows the other part. It's something we haven't discussed as a group either, but the difficulty is the terrain is a bit swampy. It's not a good area for something that's got a kind of a big use, like a soccer field or something like that. It would be more sort of passive enjoyment, I think. The tourists seem to like to use it to go chase deer. We see them quite often kind of wandering into the field with their cameras trying to take pictures. Anything that would, I think the thing that would, and I'm giving more my personal opinion here, and that my neighbors are open to say what they like, but I think somehow or other linking Langmaid Park and its mission and this bit of green space, somehow or other the solution is in there, and putting that together, whether it's more areas for a picnic, for developing more trees and shrubs and things like that, which is kind of the mission of the Langmaid Park as well, and tying that together.
Thank you very much. Sorry, you had a question, sir?
Yes, more of a statement. I don't think.
Can you please come to the microphone?
Just because Councillor Hurdle's
Thank you.
online, he won't be able to hear you.
Can you please state your name?
Patrick Lenahan. Yeah. I don't think it was emphasized, like somebody said about Patrick Street, that they're afraid to use it. Well, I live closest to Patrick Street, and I see every day, summer and winter, but especially in the summer, more people are walking up and down Patrick Street out of the trailer park at the end and from downtown, walking dogs and walking their kids back and forth. And somebody insinuated, I believe, that it was a dangerous place. Well, it's not a dangerous place. And if it is, and it isn't, somebody should be looking after a dangerous place. But that is one instance of if a university wants to know where to put a sidewalk, they put the grass down, let the students walk, and then you'll see the trails, and that's where they put the sidewalk. Well, they're saying access parking or access to the trailer park or whatever. The people in town have decided that Patrick Street is the place to go. They don't want to go out around, and if they're coming from the trailer park, they go through Patrick Street. They come right through there, and they go back and the people walking dogs, that's where they go. Very few people, a lot less. Somebody said 50%. No way, it's 75, 25, if that that they're using Patrick Street for access in and out, not anyplace else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, councilors, do one last call. All right, well, thank you for the presentation. Just to let you know, typically we get a presentation, we don't make a decision that night. It's important to obviously take some time to digest what you heard, and also any follow-ups that a member of council might have with a member of the public. So it won't be on the agenda tonight, but I'm sure Mr. Knopper, Mr. Ferguson's been in touch. When it is on the agenda, Mr. Knopper, if you could let Mr. Ferguson know, since he did do the presentation, we appreciate it. So thank you for coming in this evening. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, council, let's jump ahead to communications. So I'm just looking for a quick council consensus. We have a request on behalf of the New Brunswick Dental Hygiene Association. They're wondering if Town Hall could be lit up in purple for National Dental Hygienist Week, which is April 4th to 10th. Does anyone have any concerns over that? No, so just if the public's out, why it's purple is we want to obviously show support for their dental hygienists, and it's a national initiative. So I think that's all we need for that under communication, Mr. Knopper. Let's jump ahead right into the introduction, consideration, and passing of bylaws. We're going to go right to Council Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. So this is reference number PCD 250206, dated March 11th, 2025, and the subject is amendment to Z22-09 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for the Algonquin Spa. And the background is the representatives of the Algonquin Spa have been working on a redesign of the two-story spa project. Due to the cost of the project, they have moved from a two-story design to a one-story design. As such, changes to the council resolution section under Amendment Z22-09 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 are being proposed. A public hearing of objections was hosted on March 17th based on the changes being proposed to Amendment Z22-09. If council is satisfied with the changes and have additional concerns, council can approve the amended amendment Z22-09 with one reading of council. And the motion reads as follows: that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the terms and conditions by resolution as identified in Schedule C1 under Amendment Z22-09 to the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw Z22-01 for PID 15164718 742039 New Brunswick Limited Algonquin Hotel, and I so move.
Thank you, Councilor Harlan. Seconder is Councilor Gumashell. Discussion on this one? Mr. Spear.
I'm not going to be the right person to talk about this, but there is an amendment that Mr. Henderson should probably touch on before you accept it.
All right, I know you gave us multiple options, but I think it makes sense to call it what it is, not up to 20, call it 19, because that's what it is. So if there's any changes, at least then it will come back to us so we specifically know. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So
that should be an amendment to this because the agenda item
exactly.
has been
So
updated.
what page is that on? Or it's page.
It'll be on page 10 of your package. It's section 14B, 19 units from.
There it is right there. So the amendment is, so I should have a mover to amend that.
Yes, correct.
So the amendment, I'll look for a mover, would be to complete construction of the three-story multi-residential building of 19 dwelling units for the use of employee housing as per the plans filed with the Town of St. Andrews on, I guess you could say March 17th. Today, is that? March 17th, 2020. It says 27, but 2020. But in this, it says 2027, threw me off, 2025. Okay, council, so that is the amendment. Can I have a mover for that amendment? I've got Councilor Heenan, seconded by Deputy Mayor Akaji. Any discussions on that amendment? It's pretty clear. Okay, all in favor of approving the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Okay, back to the original. Any other questions or comments? Okay, sorry, Councilor Michelle, go ahead.
Just briefly, I think the minutes should reflect that although we're disappointed they've scaled back the project, we're still very excited to have this significant investment in the community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilor Gumashell, and I do know that the proponents are online right now, so did hear those comments, so thank you for them. Any other member of council? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. And anyone opposed? Seeing none, that has been carried. Do I have to read this? It's just a No, I didn't think so. Okay, we're going to move ahead to Councillor Heenan.
Your worship, is this the one we're going to
Your worship,
close?
this is the one to go into closed.
This is
Oh,
the-
sorry. Yes, that's right.
So
So
please move to your next page.
let's. 14 is what we're on. We're going to 18, are we? And the next one, actually, Council, I guess we'll read it and then I'll talk about the tabling it. Okay, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Akaji.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. FA 250328, and it's the Canada Community Build Fund project for 2025. And the background is this: the Canada Community Building Fund, CCBF, is a stable, predictable, and indexed source of funding provided up front to provinces and territories who, in turn, flow this funding into their communities. The funding allows local communities to make strategic investments in essential infrastructure, such as roads and bridges, public transit, drinking water and wastewater infrastructure, and recreational facilities. For the town of St. Andrews, we will be given $183,000 and $183,467 for 2024, and it grows to $198,756 in 2028. Staff are recommending that the funds be used in two ways. 50% be used toward the wharf's refurbishment project, and the other half to be used towards various water line replacements throughout our water system. Details of the proposed projects and the official plan are attached. It should be noted that Council can amend the plan as needed in the future if other projects take priority over what is proposed. So the motion is this: that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews adopts the document entitled the Town of St. Andrews 5-Year Capital Investment Plan for the Canada Community Building Fund, CCBF, and I so move this, Your Worship.
Thank you. A seconder to get on the table. Okay, Councillor Harland. Just on discussion on this one, staff actually asked if we could potentially consider tabling this. There's some more work that they want to do on this. It's not of urgent nature. I personally have no concern of that, unless someone else does. I'm fine holding to see. There's some changes that they actually want to review. Mr. Spear?
Yeah, just so the public's aware, it's related to the wharf project. As you know, we've got some partners in the wharf project, and there's a concept in granting with the government called stacking. It's when you put multiple grants on top of each other. Sometimes it's allowed, sometimes it's not. In this one, the rules were very specific. I tried to reach out to our account manager early in the week, but he was away on conference. Didn't get back to me till after the agenda was already released. So I need to amend the section related to the wharf and look for other recreation projects.
So I'll be looking, Councillor, sorry. Brain cramp.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll gladly make a motion to table the motion.
Thank you, appreciate that. That's where Councillor Bennett is seconded. All in favor of tabling, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's been done. Any opposed to tabling? That's everybody. Thank you very much, Council. Moving along, the next one
Council,
is-
page 36.
The next one is page 36, yep. And that is Councillor Bennett.
Reference number PWPS 2503-250315. Subject, bylaw number 25-01, a bylaw to regulate vehicle traffic in the town of St. Andrews, second reading. And the background reads, the town of St. Andrews has been moving through the bylaw process for bylaw number 25-01, a bylaw to regulate vehicle traffic in the town of St. Andrews. The following process has taken place to date. Bylaw process to date: first, public open house, February 5th, 2025. Next, public hearing of objection, February 18th, 2025. First reading was on March the 3rd, 2025. The second reading's tonight, and then third and final reading. Staff are recommending one additional change to the bylaw under Section E, limited parking for seasonal use of Market Square and for farmers market. This change has been requested to support the market to ensure Market Square is unobstructed for their setup and use on Thursdays. This is already written into the agreement with the farmers market, but was not in the bylaw. This change will help with enforcing measures as necessary. If council is comfortable with the changes, council can proceed to second reading. And the motion before you tonight reads that the council of the town of St. Andrews grants leave to the second reading to the bylaw number 25-01, a bylaw to regulate vehicle traffic in the town of St. Andrews, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett, seconder. Councillor Harlan, discussion? All in favor of going to second reading, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. So this is the bylaw number 25-01, a bylaw to regulate vehicular traffic in the town of St. Andrews. 1 is definitions, 2 is schedule amendments, 3 is authority of peace officers, 4 is provincial highway, 5 is speed limits, 6 is non-vehicular traffic, 7 is angle and parallel parking, 8 is bus stops and bus parking, 9 is school zones, 10 is no parking anytime, 11 is overnight parking, 12 is accessibility parking, 13 limited parking, 14 one-way street, 15 pedestrian crosswalks, 16 traffic signals, 17 stop signs and yield signs, 18 restrictions on street use, 19 vehicle idling, 20 is parades and processions, 21 is off-road vehicles, 22 is rideshare programs, 23 is no overnight camping on town of St. Andrews parking lots or parks, 24 is designated parking, 25 is offenses and administrative penalties, then 26 is the bylaw repealed. So it was read the first time on the 3rd day of March, and it's been read the second time on the 17th day of March of 2025. So that brings us ahead to a discussion on the courthouse, which would be under the portfolio of Councillor Hurdle and Ware.
Page 70,
And the
Councillor.
next steps around it on page 70. So, Council, we've had extensive conversation. Obviously, Civic Trust did a presentation, and it kind of gets us to the point right now where, I think, Council, you're at a point where you really do have to make a decision on this particular item. I don't really have I don't know if there's a process that you had on this, Mr. Spear and Mr. Knopper, but what I'm wondering is if Council is willing to transfer the asset to a not-for-profit organization or a charity in the community, and if so, do you think it should be to RFP or should it go directly to the presentation we had by Civic Trust? Yeah, those are really the other things. There is conversation if we offer it to the province first, but there's no reason an organization like Civic Trust couldn't do that as one of the terms of it. We don't necessarily have to hold on to it. I'm not very optimistic that the province will say, yes, please give us it back. So I don't know if you want to hold that process any longer or just get to the matter at hand, which is what do we do with this courthouse? So Council, over to you. If there's any comments or questions you have, otherwise I will ask the question, how many think we should transfer it to a not-for-profit or charity? And then if we all agree to that, then we'll talk if it should go to RFP or not, okay? So is there any questions before I do ask that or any comments that you have? Councillor Ware. Nailed it that time, didn't I? Got a smirk out of you.
I guess my only question is, do we anticipate having to provide financial support to whomever we do turn it over to? Or has it reached that point that we can't even discuss that yet?
I think that's obviously a very fair question. First of all, if it's a not-for-profit or a charity, you think they would get set up in a status where they don't pay property tax, which is a big part of the bill that the municipality does face. But with that being said, it is a very expensive building. You need someone to get their feet under them. So my short answer of that would be probably. I think you'd limit it to a period of time, and it's also a heritage and tourism asset. I think it'd be something that you look at using the tourism accommodation levy for a period of time. But I do think that should have a length of time attached to it and not obviously a forever. But if we're going to RFP, with that being said, one of the things that should be proposed in it is what is your financial expectation of the community, right? If we're going to give it to one group, then we will have to establish that. But if we're going to RFP, I think the appropriate thing would be to have that as a question as part of the RFP, and then we score it accordingly. Does that probably your lines up with your thinking as well? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Gumichel.
Thank you, Worship. I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend the presentation given by Mr. Janot, but I did watch it on Zoom, and I see the 4 options, but a 5th option I was curious about. I'm really stuck, as I've said in the past, I'm stuck on the fact that we took this courthouse in good faith with the understanding that it was in good shape and it was a sound building. And I don't think that's what we got. So I wonder if a fifth option might be that we simply lock the doors and say the province of New Brunswick, here's your courthouse back, and let them figure it out. Because I feel, I know when you buy something, there's a period of time, buyer beware and stuff, but that's in a sale, like if I sell something to Councillor Heenan and da-da-da, but in this transfer, I just don't understand how we can, I feel that we were duped, and I hate to say that, but I feel like we were duped. I feel as a new councillor at the time, I didn't have all the information to make the decision, and that now we have this courthouse that we're kind of stuck with, don't really know what to do, trying to come up with options, when really the right option is to give it back to the province who owned it and kind of gave it to us under, I don't want to say false pretensions, but we didn't have all the information in front of us when we made that decision. So I say we should have a fifth option, and that is give it back to the province. Those are my comments. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Gumashell. I do agree with the sentiment of what you said. I do feel that it was sold to us that it was in perfect condition. There was no problems with it. I remember all those conversations, what it could become. I feel like it was sold to us in a means. I will say, typically, when someone's willing to give you something and pay you for it to take it, that's probably your first red flag. So I completely concur. But with that being said, we've had that property for 5 years. Just to hand it back to them, I don't think it would be as easy as we think, unfortunately, because we've owned it for 5 years now. So it is an option. I don't know.
I was going to say pretty easy. Call them up.
I just say, here you go. Here's the. Can you sign this document to transfer it back? I can't guarantee you that they're going to sign it, but it is an option. I can't say that it isn't. And for the record, I feel the exact same way you are. This has been probably in my 9 years in council one of the most frustrating things ever, because it should have never probably been taken on by the town of St. Andrews, in my personal opinion. But that's just my personal opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah. Councillor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. So when the Civic Trust presented to us, I think a month ago, I believe as part of that discussion, we had talked about needing to have conversations with some key groups. I think, Mayor Henderson, you identified the archives as being one of them. And I'm wondering if that is still an outstanding item that we haven't completed, or have we had those discussions? Have we had feedback from that presentation?
So we had contact earlier today, actually, from the Civic Trust, who said they've been in discussions with the archive, who support the Civic Trust taking them over. They'd be okay with that to maintain the landlord-tenant relationship. How it goes beyond there. And it should be a reminder to the public and to council that this is just the very first step of all of this. There's still a lot of consultation to take place after, but we just need general direction on if you want to work with Civic Trust, or if there's another direction that staff has to prepare and move down with as we try to figure out what to do with this property. And, well, I'm sympathetic to Councillor Gumashell and the Mayor's situation. We have sat on it for 5 years. We've juggled, figuring out what we want to do with it. In good faith, we haven't ignored it. Councillor Heenan was on a community committee that tried to figure out something, but there's a cost, and we won't go through all that. It's a moving forward situation, so you've got to give instructions to staff on how to move forward. And with all due respect to Councillor Gumashell, number 5 probably should be taken off the table as a realistic option. It'll just fall to the ground as we fight over ownership.
And I will say, though, that, again, whether you go to RFP or not, that the proponent that made the presentation has a long history of preserving heritage buildings in this community and finding a successful way to do it. So that's a little bit of a good news on the back of what Councillor Gumashell and I feel, for sure. Councillor Harlan.
Just one other question. So with respect to whether or not we look at entering into an agreement with the Civic Trust or we go to RFP, why would we choose to go to RFP when, to my knowledge, the Civic Trust has been the only not-for-profit that has come forward with significant recommendations, having explored the needs for the courthouse and engaged the community in terms of how we might utilize the courthouse. Are we aware of some other group potentially being out there? Because to to date, there doesn't seem to be anybody.
We are aware of one other group. They've been active, but they haven't really provided any feedback except on their feelings on the proposal from Civic Trust. They haven't submitted anything. On the other side, they've been relying, council's given the appearance that they've been dealing with Civic Trust right now, just because, you've gone through the proposal, they put something together, there's been discussions back and forth, and so they might have thought this wasn't the time to bring it forward. They've had some informal communications that they're interested without actually coming up with any type of proposal
Okay.
to do it.
By all means.
Could I just have a clarification, though? Are they a registered not-for-profit? Do they have a governance structure?
I know the committee's name, that's about all I know. I can't speak to how they're organized or their bylaws, I just do not know. They could be highly organized or they could not be, I just can't speak to that.
Okay.
So just to, I'll go to you 1 second, Councillor Hannon, just to follow up on that. So there is history of certain properties not going to RFP. If you look at Sierra Civic Trust and what their mandate is and what they do for the community, you could easily make a strong case to why you directly award it. Again, it's an asset that is a not-for-profit, no one's making money off. It's just, I don't think as a council we asked anyone else if they actually wanted it, right? Like, we never said, hey, put in your proposal for what, if you'd want to take the courthouse. That's the only other side of it, but it's one of those ones that it's really, as bad as off as it sounds, it's really up to you. There's no legal obligation to go to RFP. It's just usually a best practice when you're unloading an asset of the community. Would that be safe to say?
Potentially, but you're not really disposing of this asset per se. All I mean by that is there'd be covenants that if the successful proponent, isn't successful, that the property revert back to the town of St. Andrews so that it's maintained forever until the council decides otherwise.
It can't go for sale.
That's right. It's different than if you're giving it to a private developer.
Yeah. It's almost a partnership in that scope. Councillor Heenan, sorry about that.
Yes, Your Worship, this may be a minor point, but I'll go back to Councillor Bennett even used it at one point about the garbage cans for the town. We had to put it out to a RFP. I'm not saying it's a necessary thing, but I think it opens up, it covers us, that we actually looked for other sources of nonprofit to come in and give a proposal. I'm not saying, but I mean, Civic Trust can easily apply. It's just that I think that we've never asked for any other nonprofit person or organization to come through to see what they would propose for the courthouse. Just my thoughts.
And on Councillor Heenan's point as well, is if you're going to be giving financial support to this organization, that's a different story as well as giving them a courthouse for $1 with covenants. In all reality, there will be a financial component from the town of St. Andrews as part of this transition, so it just makes it a lot more transparent of a process. It's not that, it's with the RFP, Civic Trust, because I can be honest, because they're the ones that present it, they're going to have a very, very compelling case in the RFP, but to say that they're the only ones that should, when you're going to be giving financial tax dollars, essentially, to an organization, then maybe that's why the argument of RFP should happen. Councillor Ware.
Yes, just a comment. Would it be possible to request an expression of interest rather than a full-blown RFP, just to find out if there's people out there that are interested in putting in an RFP? And I know I've always called them expressions of interest, and it does at least give the public an opportunity to say, yes, we are interested.
Yeah, and that can be done quickly, as you say, you could do it in
That's
3 to 4
what I
weeks,
thought.
because we only know 1 or 2 people. Otherwise, the full-blown RFP probably takes 2 or 3 months to get everything together, so
Exactly
I think
what I was
along
thinking.
the same thing. So
And then if
we
you
could
have-
do that, give
then if
them
you
till
have
the
one,
end
it's
of
pretty
like
easy.
a month from now, so we could discuss it in the May meeting.
I think that's good. A quick show of hands, though, since we're talking about how many are fine of the concept of transferring it to a not-for-profit or charity, like Civic Trust or someone else that submits. Okay, I'm seeing an overwhelming majority, so we will be doing that. How many like Councillor Ware's comment on an expression of interest just to hear from the public? That's a majority. So that will be council, the course of action. There's no motion tonight. We'll have to bring it forward. But that will be the course of action for us. Before I kind of turn them, I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. Councillor Harlan.
So just one clarifying question, because one of the things that I really appreciated about the Civic Trust presentation a month ago was that they were clearly prepared to enter into a working relationship with council, and I think that that's critical. And so in an expression of interest, is it possible to state that that's what council is expecting?
Yeah, so I was going to ask that, but you know, following that suit, that would be before a nonprofit organization or charity, that they'd be working with council.
Yes.
We'd list some covenants. We'd also say that formal RFP would be issued if there's enough interest, and that they'd have to come up with a full-blown plan by X date.
Right.
Which might require some of their own research, if not their own dollars, to do some of the things. And just to see, you know, to make sure people are aware that it's just not coming up with a few ideas on the computer, that we're looking for significant.
That they're serious.
With a serious plan. So we can submit that in two parts. Again, just as, like Councillor Weir said, the expression of interest is to see who's interested, let them dip their toes in the lake, and if they are interested, then they'll go in for the full swim and come back with a full proposal in a few weeks.
And they have to be a registered not-for-profit, right?
Correct. Not for profit. Well, it's up to us, but yes, that'd be the expectation. Is that?
Well, but again, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the request for proposal would ask for what their capabilities are, and so if you want us to put that it has to be a registered charity, but be careful of that, because registered charities and registered nonprofits are two different things, and so, you know,
I think
I could set up a nonprofit fairly easily and go ahead and with good intentions, but a charity takes a couple of years to put stuff together, so the other group would not have had time to get charity status. I know that.
I think or would be a fair for now, and we can look at it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I wouldn't want to limit it to only charities. That's for sure.
Your worship.
Councillor, oh, that big hand, and it's even yellow in the background to make it even worse. Yeah.
I've been told it's kind of hard to see, so sorry, everybody. I just wanted to just make a quick comment about the fact that I just didn't want it to seem like we were over eager to divest ourselves of the property, where I think that I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm pretty sure we all see this building as essential to St. Andrews and how we see ourselves. It's an iconic building, and it is very much in how we all imagine the community. And again, I don't want to put words in the Civic Trust's mouth, but I think their goal here is to, have a plan for the building and foresee its, retained prevalence in the community for the future. And I think that opening this up may help them achieve that. But again, I also just want to clarify that whatever we decide tonight, that it's not a commitment. It's just a plan moving forward. And that plan, no matter what we do, could always include the Civic Trust.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hurdle. Very articulately said. Sometimes when we've been talking about this so much, people don't realize the thought and the fact that we do recognize that it is a very historical, significant building for the community. So I guess when we're trying to get consensus and move it forward, it's because we've talked about it at such length, but it is good to highlight that. So I do appreciate that for sure. Deputy Mayor Akaji.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I think it's great that the Civic Trust is willing to do this, but also to involve the archives, because those buildings go together historically, and with the characteristics that they have been united together. So it's nice to see that they're working on the same page. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I do think we have consensus on how to move forward, so thank you very much, Council, for that. So at this particular time, I've got nothing else, so we will go to question period. Is there any questions from anyone in the audience this evening? Mr. Watt? No? We talked about Watt intersection on Harriet. Putting him on the spot because he never is in front. He's always behind the camera. Any questions online this evening? No? Okay, and nothing submitted online either. Okay, that made that very easy. Councillors, comments, or Deputy Mayor? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just like to thank the staff and the arena staff for our workshop on the weekend. We hosted a drumming and rattle workshop. We did not get the numbers we wanted, but the numbers that were there completed the drums, and we completed most rattles. We have a few left over, so the drums are gone, which is great. I'm glad. We have proposed to the Beskoto-Makati people, and they have agreed the one of the drums and one of the rattles will go to our sister town, Thorpe St. Andrews. And so our ideal is the drum maker's going to make them, and then we will have them, I'm hoping, a design put on them for the town of St. Andrews, and then they will be sent, because we didn't do anything at Christmas time due to the postal strike, unfortunately. So it may take us a few months, but I will let you know. But our plan is to do something on the drum and with the mallet and the rattle, and send them to Thorpe St. Andrews from the town of St. Andrews as a sistership. And we are going to compose a write-up that will go with it, and it will explain how important the drum, the rattle, were to the Indigenous people that have always been here on our territory. So and I wanted to thank everybody that helped me on the weekend. A crew of friends that probably won't speak to me, but they worked at it because I work at their things. And then the staff that helped me out for things, and Alex, what's his last? Alex McLean, who helped me set up and do that. I was really fortunate that way. So, and again, to the curling club, because they allowed me to use the kitchen at the same time they were preparing for a St. Patrick's Day party. So we were able to work together, and that's the nice thing. But to get the drums done, I'm a happy camper. Later on, maybe when I'm over this hump, we may try to do some other workshops that we will partner with the Beskoto-Makati, and I'd like to thank them for helping us financially and with our drum keeper, Greg Mansfield, who came. And I think everybody learned from him, and we really enjoyed the sharing of culture. So we will be doing more workshops, but not for a few months. I need a break. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for once again leading that initiative. And I know Mr. Knopper is involved, I think, as well, helping. So thank you for everyone for doing that. And of course, Alex McLean for all his help here. And we're getting close to another busy year at the arena, and both him and John McFarland certainly had a lot of different initiatives here in this arena. So as it winds down, certainly a lot of appreciation to them. Councillor Ware. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Councillor Ware. So we'll take a look at what that is and go from there. He looks like someone you could trust with documentation. So he's got that look on him. Yeah. Any other member of council? Okay. So with that being said, I have nothing for this evening. So I'll be looking at 7:50 p.m. to go to closed session as per Local Governance Act section. Over to Mr. Knopper.
68(1)(c). So information that can cause financial loss or gain to a person or a local government, or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract.
Well, thank you very much. That's exactly what I said. So I have a mover with Councillor Gumashel and a seconder by Councillor Heenan. Barely won that one. All in favor of going to closed session, please signify by saying aye. That is everybody. Thank you for being here. Have a great evening. All right, so at 8:11 p.m., I'll be looking for a motion to come out of closed session. I've got Councillor Heenan and seconded by Deputy Mayor Akergy. All in favor of coming out of closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye, Your Worship.
Perfect. We're right back into the introduction, consideration, and passing of bylaws and motions. This is page 14. Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. It's reference number PCD 250309, proposed encroachment for Argyle Residence Development John Rocca. The Argyle residence at 254 to 260 Water Street was proposed to be flush with the existing sidewalk on Water Street. However, the foundation is approximately 37 centimeters or 14.5 inches above grade because of an error during design. The proponent is requesting to enter into an encroachment agreement with council to allow the construction of the accessible ramp in one step. The total width needed is 5 feet. As demonstrated in an attached staff report, that would leave a passageway of approximately 82 inches. While this is sufficient for 2 persons with accessibility devices to pass by, that distance is reduced when you consider swinging car doors. However, the encroachment will protrude onto the sidewalk further than any other structure on Water Street in the historic business district. The motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews enters into an encroachment agreement with Ellerdale Ventures Incorporated with the following terms and conditions. The annual lease is $600 per year with a CPI increase. The existing light pole is to be removed and given to the town at the developer's cost. The design of the rebuilt sidewalk is to be approved by the CAO. The installation of nonstick brick pavers to replace the current red bricks. A railing at both ends of the step is to be installed. The liability of the ramp and steps rests with the proponent. A clause that if the building is demolished or destroyed, the owners will need to reapply to council for another approachment agreement.
Thank you. Could I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Gumichel. Council, any conversation on this one? Councillor Ware.
Yes, with respect to the liability of the ramp, will we be requiring a copy of their insurance policy or a certificate of insurance to cover that liability on an annual basis?
We could, if council so wishes, it could be written into the agreement that it's assumed, but many other leases of lesser value, we certainly get an annual copy.
Any other member of council? Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship. We as a council asked the town to put pylons in front of the Great Canadian Dollar Store as to the amount of space that this encroachment would take upon our sidewalk. And I was down, and it's about 65%. Now, you may argue with me it's 60, but it's 60 to 65% of the sidewalk is used up with this encroachment. And I sat and watched, and 2 people had to go single file by the pylons. And I sat for quite a number of times, and I took great interest in this because I was not aware that it took so much space on the sidewalk. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Rocca for coming down here and again explaining to us how we found ourselves in this situation. I appreciate him coming here and explaining that, again, this mistake happened due to, them using a bad survey or survey from a previous year. Up to date, council has had no input into this project whatsoever. I personally feel that it would be a bit of a mistake for us to suddenly get involved at this point. Again, I agree with Councillor Heenan. The encroachment onto the sidewalk is going to be more than anything we have in town currently. I do feel that it poses a bit more of a safety risk, as well as damaging, the downtown aesthetics in our historic business district. And I just, from my own point of view, and again, for the residents of St. Andrews, I don't see why, again, they should be giving up essentially land on the sidewalk to accommodate this mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Councillor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. So, Mr. Henderson, I have a clarifying question for you. So with respect to new builds are required to be accessible from the sidewalk. Is that correct?
The main entrance needs to be accessible.
Main entrance.
Yep.
Okay. And that's for all new builds going forward?
That is correct. So if you have a new build you're not dealing with an existing structure, like an existing foundation that was pre-existing the code, well, this would be required that you make the main entrance of the building barrier-free, compliance with the barrier-free regulation.
Okay. And so could I have a follow-up?
Why not?
Thank you. So I know that as a municipality, we have entered into a couple of encroachment agreements for businesses who have worked hard at trying to make their business as accessible as possible, given that many of them are in historic buildings and where we didn't have the same codes or even the same perspective in terms of accessibility 50, 60 or more years, 100 years ago when buildings were being built. We are a historic town. The look and feel of our town, I believe, is critical to us. And while I appreciate the fact that we have a new build happening in our historic downtown, which will bring business and energy to our downtown, I do believe that we have to hold true to the requirement that new builds are fully accessible. And while I would support any business, any existing business in a historic building that may need an encroachment agreement, I am not prepared to support a new build getting an encroachment agreement in order to make it accessible. I think another option has to be provided by the developer.
Thank you, Councillor Harland. Any other member of council? Deputy Mayor Akagi.
Thank you, Worship and Council. I agree with Councillor Neal that, the replacement of the red bricks I don't have a problem with because I never did like the red bricks. We always have accidents on them, and they aren't historically correct, as people say. We never had cobblestones, as far as I know, in the history. And I agree with Councillor Harland that, this is going to set precedents to things that are going to happen with other bills, and we have to be more aware, as everyone has said, and it may have fallen upon us that we didn't, but with the way it was written, I think we trusted that it would be built correctly, and I hate the thought that our aesthetics downtown is going to change. And I know one lamppost doesn't make a great difference, but it certainly does when you're driving along and boing, there's a space, and I'm like Councillor Heenan. When I went by, I thought this took up more of the sidewalk than I expected. I guess I just didn't expect it to be that close to the road. And 65% is a lot for me to say that I agree to this encroachment. I just don't agree with that, to ruin our aesthetics of the town that we've worked so hard to preserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Akagi. Any other member of council? Councillor Gumichel.
Thank you, Worship. Unlike some of my colleagues, I would disagree that setting back the project by taking away some of the sidewalk is the right way to go. The building is a significant investment in our downtown, which for many years hasn't had a lot of investment. That old garage sat there empty for years, and I think that moving forward, it's not setting precedent. There was a mistake that was made. The proponent came and explained his mistake as best he could. It is unfortunate. I'm a active transportation person. I don't want to lose sidewalk. But I do worry at setting back the project at this late date. It's the sign says it's going to be open this summer. I don't know, that might be ambitious, but I do think this will be a significant setback for the project, and therefore I would propose that we allow the sidewalk to be made into a ramp as described in the staff report. But doesn't seem everyone agrees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gumichel. Any other member of council? Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a tough one. It's hard to parse through this. I respect the the opinions I've heard so far at this point, and I agree with, unfortunately, I agree with everybody. But I do have to sort of make my opinions known too. I just feel like we've been stuck in a situation where it's very difficult to see a path for us to move forward with this. I tend to agree that we shouldn't be in this situation. We should be looking to make a different solution. But I just don't. At the same time, I don't see what that could possibly be other than what they've come to us with to this point. Again, this is a significant investment, like Councillor Gumichel says, in our downtown core. I don't want to see this return to essentially being a pit for a number of years. I don't want to have that sort of vacant space in our downtown. So this is a way forward. So I just tend to have to agree that I'd like to see this move forward. So I guess at this point, I'm okay with it.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Appreciate that. Any other member of council? We'll go back to a second round then of anyone else. Okay, Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I don't disagree with Councillor Hurdle and Councillor Gumichel. I'd hate to see this project stop, but I wholeheartedly believe that this is going to go forward regardless. I don't think this is going to be a big shock to the proponent. I think he's probably well aware that we've been on the fence for some time now, and I have no doubt that he probably has a plan B or C in the works. Again, when this was first brought to our attention, staff mentioned that there were several options that were looked at. This, again, was his preferred option, obviously. So again, I don't see how this project's going to suddenly stall. It certainly hasn't since it came to light. He's been going full bore. So again, I'm sure he has other options. There are definitely other ways to make the building accessible. And of course, I fully support any new build in our downtown being fully accessible. I just don't think that this should be on the taxpayers of St. Andrews to correct this mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Anyone else? All right. So just since there is differences of opinion, and I do appreciate the respectful differences, it was very well articulated by all of you. A vote in favor would be to grant the encroachment agreement. A vote of nay would be to not grant the encroachment agreement, just so everyone's clear on their vote. So I will call the question. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye. Just hold your hand up if you do. I've got 1, 2, and all those opposed, please vote. I'm seeing a count of 5, so. So I am getting majority is a nay on this one, so this particular request has been denied by the town of St. Andrews. Thank you very much, Council. So we have gone through question period and Council and Deputy Mayor's comments and Mayor's comments already. So at 8:25 p.m. I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. I've got Deputy Mayor Akaji as always, seconded by Councillor Gumichel. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, Council. 2 hours, not bad.